It's Saturday night. I got me a mimosa. Pretty good. All right. So this is today in art. Today is January 18th, 2020. This is the first podcast of the new year. And to start it off, we got Aaron Carter. Says he's a rapper, singer, songwriter, actor, dancer, and record producer. More famously, the brother of Nick Carter. But anyway, he's using other people's artwork without permission to promote his clothing line. I saw it this morning on Twitter, so I'm doing the podcast now. Like I said, this is Today in Art. So if we basically get into it here, I got some tweets pulled up, and actually Forbes did kind of an interview. So the piece in question is this by the artist Jonas Jödicke. I can't pronounce it. It's from Berlin. And we'll get to some of the tweets here too. Where are they at? See, this one's been deleted, but I actually have, luckily I screen captured it this morning. And basically he was using this image here. It says, 2 lines at work and reach understanding. I have my lines in, you have yours. AaronCarter.com. Hoodies are back up. All unreceived orders, contact Dawn, yada, 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 my website. So he's using this image in promoting his art line, which happens to be some like tie-dye hoodies he's trying to sell for like $100 a pop, which is way overpriced in my opinion, but I don't really buy designer clothes or whatever you want to call it. And that was the thing. Then he was like, hey, Aaron Carter, you use my artwork to promote your merchandise. I have not given you permission to do so. Mars is being commercially exploited by people on a daily basis. We artists have rights too. I really appreciate if you could retweet this so he'll see it. And oh boy, he did see it. He certainly did see it. He responded on Twitter publicly. You should have taken it as a compliment, dick. A fan of mine sent this to me. Oh, here they go again. The answer is no. This image has been made public, and I'm using it to promote my clothing line. Guess I'll see you in small claims court, fucker. Okay. If you listen to this or watch this, I'm sure you're well aware that if someone creates a piece of art just because it's shared on the internet, online, through social media, that it's not open for public domain. And I've seen some people say, oh, well, we like share other people's photos all the time and they don't do anything, which they don't. I mean, technically they could. Technically they could sue you for copyright infringement, but a lot of time that is only done when it seems to be someone else's, like he's using this to promote his own clothing line. So he's like using it to make a monetary gain. And that's when like actual like lawsuits come into play, because it comes down to money essentially. Because I want to say that there was a lawsuit with the person that created the Nike swoosh, and they made it was like this long ass lawsuit, and they made like a ton of money off of it when it finally went through. So Forbes actually did an article, and we'll go through this, and it came out around 4:30 p.m., so about 7 hours ago, assuming that's Eastern time. And also, before we get into it, I have my podcast here on YouTube if you're watching, and also on the different like audio apps that do it, that I put it into Anchor and it shoots out from Anchor. I'm working on making my own Instagram too, so I have its own like kind of standalone. It's like the thumbnails, and there you can link to the other stuff. So let's get into this. Yesterday, the Los Angeles rapper, face tattoo maverick, and all-around bad boy Aaron Carter took his fingertips to promoting his new hoodies on Twitter. What he used was the image of 2 lions butting heads and artwork entitled Brotherhood, by German artist Jonas Jödicke. I can't, whatever. A professional artist who is based in Berlin and is 25 years old. If this was a commission or if it was used with permission, it could have been a great collaboration between two artists. However, it wasn't. Jödicke, I clapped back at Carter as his artwork was used without credit as part of a social media push to sell merchandise. This whole thing, if it does go to court, because apparently I guess he's talking. I mean, even Aaron Carter's like, I'll sue you in small claims court. And like, no, small claims is like up to $5,000. Depending on how much money Aaron Carter like makes and sells through those hoodies, he's going to have to legally give up all that information. Then a portion of it is going to go to him. So it's going to probably be more than $5,000, depending on his sales. Carter responded in a way that was less professional, admitting he was in fact using the image to promote his clothing merchandise and that he didn't plan on taking it down. In an interview with Forbes, the artist explains the story from his side and why we need to step up to support visual artists more now than ever. Sadly, this isn't the first time his work has been used without permission. He tells us about the time in Thailand, too, not to mention a run-in with Madonna. Yeah, because he went into... where's the other one? He goes into... Because he's saying here on the tweets, he's like, I've had Madonna use my art in the past, photoshopping her face into one of my paintings. I'm also fed up with people taking my hard work for their own purposes without even asking. I also found my art being sold at market in Thailand when I was on vacation. It's crazy. Unfortunately, if it's in other countries, it's a lot harder to... That's like in China. China doesn't even recognize copyright the way we do in the Western world. Celebs like Aaron Carter should set an example, especially since he's also from a creative background and knows copyright laws. If they can take art and do whatever with it, anyone can and will do it. If they're not held responsible, people won't stop treating artists like crap. Then it kind of goes over this. And I guess Aaron Carter was actually live streaming talking about it. See, all this stuff that Aaron's putting out is going to be used against him in court, essentially. How'd you first learn that Aaron Carter was using your line piece to promote his clothing brand on Twitter? I first learned of Aaron's use of my artwork from a follower on Twitter. They reached out via direct message telling me about Aaron's tweet in which he had posted my artwork to promote his new merchandise shop. He did not mention me as the original artist and had not asked for permission beforehand. That's why I called him out in a tweet in a polite way to inform him that it was not all right for him using my art in that way. That's when he went back. I want to say, too... See, I believe earlier his background banner was also that piece. And he's at least taken that part down, and he's deleted the original tweet as well. But I guarantee you so many people... I guarantee the original artist probably did screenshots of that. What do you think of his response to you after you called him out? His response to my tweet was what got the whole tweet storm going. Instead of apologizing or reaching out to me to discuss things, he insulted me and said I should be glad he was using my art to promote his store. This kind of goes back to this whole people's like, oh, well, I'm giving you exposure. Doesn't exposure pay your electricity bill? He ended with, guess I'll see you in small claims court. I was absolutely amazed as to how he could respond in such a way and not expect people to lash out. I shared his response on my Twitter and Instagram, and that is when it really blew up. In his YouTube live stream, he joked about my tweet having 17 likes. As of now, it has more than 70,000 likes and reached more than 5 million. You could say the artist community on Twitter was outraged. Because I saw it this morning, like looking at another artist's Instagram story. I was still like just waking up, like laying in bed. I figured I'd do this since I'm doing, you know, art topics and copyright and stealing and monetizing other people's stuff. It's unfortunately a part of it. When do When do you say that Carter is making a mockery of the artist community? How can celebrities respect visual artists going forward? I didn't want to cause a storm of this magnitude, but at the same time, I'm glad the artist's right is coming to the public eye again. I think celebrities like Aaron Carter have a lot of responsibility. Many people look up to stars as role models, and if they treat artists like he has in his tweet, others may follow. So many people think that when you find an image online, you can use it for your own purpose, but celebrities should be at the forefront of teaching the masses about lawful and appropriate conduct, especially musicians and other artists who understand how competitive the creative market is and how difficult it can be for artists to make a living off their hard work. They have enough money to pay smaller creators for their services, but all too often they feel like they don't have to because of their status, and all too often these small ones back down. Going back to this was there actual, let's see if we can find when he maybe originally posted that piece. It might have been quicker if I just let's just see. He originally posted this 174 weeks ago, so that was like over 3 years ago. So it's an older piece of his. Oh no, it's even older than that. This is the very first artwork I posted here on my IG about 1 year ago. Still can't believe I've come such a long way since then. You guys are crazy. It is 110K of you already. Thanks for the like, follow, and buying my prints. Really, thanks a lot. Two animals in yin yang style. But yeah, that's the one that he was using in collaboration with promoting his clothing brand. As it's, if you're listening to the audio, it's basically like a white line on the left and a black line on the right. They kind of have their, it's just like the heads with the mane, and the manes are coming almost making like a heart shape type thing. They got little symbols on their foreheads. What does this artwork, the lions, mean to you or represent? The lion piece is called Brotherhood. I painted it a few years ago in a time of personal confusion and hurt. It's still one of my favorite pieces I ever created. It was actually also the art piece that got my career as a freelance artist going, as it went viral on Instagram and all over the internet. But with that came a lot of copyright issues as well, though. It became my first artwork that was stolen by a clothing company for profit. Nowadays, I receive messages by my followers on a daily basis who have found my art being sold by a random business. I have become so numb to it. Art thieves have literally made millions with my art. It is sold all over the world on markets, in shopping malls, and on the internet. Last year I went to Thailand with my brother and we found a random street shop selling my art on a shirt. Also last year my art appeared in a Netflix show with no permission given whatsoever. I do officially work with a few companies that sell products with my art rightfully, but a lot of sellers, especially from China, are making really high figures off my work illegally. Like I was saying, with China, you're just kind of screwed because they don't really view copyright the same way that, you know, America, Canada, Mexico, you know, Europe and stuff does. Showing some other ones. His is a lot of animals, animal work, a lot of lions. I think there's some kind of dragons. Was it, I think he called it fantasy spiritual type work. How did your situation with Madonna work out from beginning to end? Was it respectful, or did the lawyers have to intervene? The thing with Madonna happened a few years ago. She used one of my artworks to promote her tour. I think one of her fans had photoshopped Madonna's face into the art piece, and she, probably unknowingly who the original artist was, posting it on social media. I tried to reach her with a public Facebook post that gained a lot of traction, and she received hundreds of comments on her post, but I never got a reply. I didn't pursue it any further legally because I didn't want the drama, but now I regret it. If we artists always back down like that, things will never change. Some more pieces. It goes into why he loves fantasy art. How are your pieces usually made? The painting on the computer, graphics tablet, Adobe Photoshop. It's a photo of him. Then he has his own website as well. Or he's got an Etsy. He's got an Etsy website. So it looks like he does the digital and he does prints. You have a... Is it on... It says it's a Art Glisel print. That's cool. Then they have other ones too, but it pretty much goes the same thing. Forbes seemed like they did an actual kind of maybe email back and forth interview with them, but a couple of places had picked it up. But essentially, it was something. A lot of certain news that happens today happens like kind of on Twitter, because I think it was trending. It was trending. The news story was trending at one point. I think it even got up to #1, maybe. It was at least #3 in the Twitter news thing. So it did gain some traction, and it's still... let's see if we can go to the other thing. It still is... It's newsworthy, is what I was trying to get at. And you have Mindy Robson here going... asking something, essentially. And it's like I was saying, just because someone doesn't like... Because you can sue for pretty much anything, but also... like if someone like did my work and they just like... I've had it before, they just kind of put it up on Instagram or whatever. I mean, you can kind of ask them or whatever, but if they like start to, you know, somehow use it in, you know... in promotion, or they're selling prints or t-shirts with the designs or whatever, then at that point you can and probably should, if you're an artist, seek some kind of legal counseling. Now, whether you actually, a lot of times they'll just like, you'll contact an artist, they'll send like a cease and desist letter, and a lot of times they'll just quit. Now, if it goes further than that, then that's when you can actually go to court, and then they're legally... If it's like a business, then they are legally, they have to come forth with all the profits and stuff they used, and then they decide how much you make off of that, since it's your artwork. But yeah, I thought it was something to talk about to start off the new year with. I have a couple other things I want to like discuss. It happened a couple weeks ago, but maybe discuss the whole banana wall duct tape thing as well. But I want to start getting back into these, maybe at least try to get back into weekly, then maybe more than once a week if like a story, something like this pops up and I just kind of want to do it as well. So like I said, this has been Today in Art, January 18th 2020. It is the new year, 2020. Like I was saying earlier, it's on YouTube, it's on Anchor from there. It's on all the different, it's on the different like podcasting platforms like Spotify, then Pocket Casts, and I don't know, you can just search for Today in Art and it should come up. All right, later. Have a good one. If you have any stories that come up and you want me to like look at it, art related, you can probably just tweet me, and all that stuff, information will be in the description. Or when I get that Instagram set up and you follow that, you can probably just DM me there if something comes up and I can take a look at it. But all right, later. Have a good one.